Hey, how's it going? This is Adrian at Insomnia Records, and tonight I will be presenting to you 10 more movies that should be included in the Criterion Collection, but for some reason are not. This is basically part two of a video that I made about a week ago. And now I picked 10 more to see, what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? That's neither here nor there, but I do enjoy the conversations and interactions that we have in the comments section about these movies. And also the list that you guys make as well, because those are also full of really great suggestions. So that's kind of like my favorite part of making these is the interaction I have with you in the comments. So without further ado, let's get right to it. I have 10 films to talk about, and I'll try to do them as succinctly and quickly as possible with no spoilers and kind of like no over talking about them. Let's see if I can make it short but sweet. Okay, so the first one I got on my list is from 1961. It was directed by John Huston with a screenplay by Arthur Miller, a Pulitzer Prize winner that wrote Death of a Salesman, among other great screenplays. At the time, he was married to Marilyn Monroe, and he wrote this screenplay as a gift to her because she was tired of just getting only roles as ditzy blondes and sex pots. So he was married to her at the time, and as a gift, he gave her this screenplay, which was quite a gift because this movie is highly underrated, underappreciated, and is ripe for inclusion in the Criterion Collection because I think it's brilliant, and it is The Misfits. It also stars Clark Gable and Montgomery Clift. Now, this was Clark Gable's final appearance in a movie, his final role, and also Marilyn Monroe's final role. Montgomery Clift went on to make more films, but see, this movie is one of those movies that falls under the category of a cursed film for many reasons. From the production onward, I think just like bad vibes were just baked into the bones of this movie. However, it is brilliant and introspective, and it's almost like a parallel to the people on the screen, especially Marilyn Monroe. Arthur Miller penned this screenplay for her, but I think at the same time, he revealed so much about her inner workings as a person that you feel like you're peering into her soul. And this is by far her best performance in a movie and her most different performance in a movie. Of course, there are the typical Marilyn Monroe expressions and like the magnetism that she exudes, and in every role that she does. When she's on the screen, it doesn't matter who else is on the screen. Your attention is just on her, and that's what, made her such a huge star. Okay, but there's something about the way that this was written for her is very sad, and her life was also very tragic during this time. She was addicted to barbiturates and had very, very serious depression issues, and that all came out in this movie. Like this movie just oozes whatever's going on inside of her is coming out, whether she wants it to or not. And that's one of the things that makes this movie so unique and so powerful. Is not only her performance, but Clark Gable gives his best performance too, and Montgomery Clift is great. Everyone's great in this. Everyone brought their A game to this. And I feel that everyone in this movie also, a part of them is on the screen. They didn't just play a role. Something about this screenplay really brought out the best in these actors, and something very personal in each one of them, in my opinion. There's a book by Charles Bukowski of poems, and it's called The Days Run Away Like Wild Horses Over the Hills. And anytime I hear that title, it reminds me of this film. It has some kind of weird cosmic connection to it. I don't want to say any more about it, because to say any more about it would kind of spoil it, and I don't want to do that. I want you to see it. And I also want this to someday appear in the Criterion Collection with a full restoration and essays. There's so much that can be written about just based on how this movie was made. Also, another punk rock fun fact about this, Glenn Danzig named The Misfits after this movie. No joke. This movie is a very powerful and unique anti-Western. So seek it out and check it out. And if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Let me know if what I say resonates with you in terms of how you feel about it as well. Okay, so I'll say no more about it. Let's go on to the next one. The next one came out in 2009. It's directed by Charlie Kaufman and stars Philip Seymour Hoffman in easily, in my opinion, his finest performance. This movie is a staggering work of genius that it basically gives you so much insights into the complexities of the human condition. And I can't say enough about it. I just saw it recently. It was in my watch pile for quite some time. I had gotten it as the recommendation. And I got it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to check it out someday. I'm going to check it out. And we all have our watch piles. But I went into it, and I took the shrink wrap off. I put it in, and I was locked in, and I watched it, and I was blown away by this movie. Synecdoche, New York. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right, because I think it's a misspelling of Schenectady. However, whatever the case is, this movie will blow your mind. Just the way that it's set up, it's almost like, in my opinion, it's like the concept of like everyone is connected to everyone else in this universe, and everyone is a mirror of you. So this movie acts like as a hall of mirrors to everyone. And the way that it's broken down and the way that it's presented to you is nothing short of genius. This movie's amazing and definitely belongs to the Criterion Collection. I'll say no more about it because this movie's almost indescribable. You have to see it to understand what I'm talking about. It is amazing. It's absurd and funny and beautiful and sad, and it's everything. It's everything that life is. And they somehow were able to condense it and put it in this film. So check it out. Highly recommend it. Now, my next movie came out in 1969, and it was directed by the great Sam Peckinpah, who also has a few entries in the Criterion Collection as it is. I think he has Straw Dogs and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Now, this one, I am puzzled, baffled by how this movie is not in the Criterion Collection, okay? And I am talking about the legendary The Wild Bunch, starring William Holden and Ernest Borgnine, and who else is in this? Edmund O'Brien is in this. Robert Ryan, the noir superstar Robert Ryan is in this. Everyone in this is unbelievable. This is basically a movie that redefined violence in movies and also redefined what a Western could be. Okay, no small feat for this genre. The basic synopsis of this is, and I can't really think of it any other way. Like when I was watching this, it made me think of like, this is like when, musicians kind of get to a certain age and they're like, hey man, I feel like times are changing and things are passing me by and things are different. And, let's get the band back together. Let's just rock out one last time in a blaze of glory. This movie is kind of like that, but these guys are not musicians. These are aging outlaws and notorious thieves. And they get together and they see that like all their thievery and all their outlaw business has not paid them well, or they've squandered it away, and they have nothing to show for their life of crime. And so they decide to get back together for one last heist, one last gig, and go out in a blaze of glory. And that's all I'll say about this one. But man, what a crazy ride this movie is. Seek this one out. If you haven't seen The Wild Bunch, man, see The Wild Bunch. This is crazy. And this definitely, I don't know how this is not in the Criterion Collection. Seriously. Okay, so my next one is a movie that came out in 1994, and it was directed by Tim Burton. Now, Tim Burton, I think early in his career, Tim Burton made a lot of bangers, one after the other. Edward Scissorhands and, all the great movies, Nightmare Before Christmas, all the great movies that he's known for, okay? Legendary. And then all of a sudden, I think he kind of fell off a little bit. He kind of like, did all this great stuff, and then all of a sudden, people didn't regard him in the same way anymore. And that happens. Hey, nothing is guaranteed, and no one's career is a guaranteed smash. He's definitely had his hits, and he's definitely, a brilliant filmmaker. But this one that he made is in a category all its own. It's very different from his other material, and I think it's his best film. And it's definitely his best film with Johnny Depp. And I'm talking about Ed Wood. This one came out in 1994. I think I mentioned that already. But if you don't know who Ed Wood was, he will live on in infamy as being the worst director of all time. And I've seen some of Ed Wood's movies, and yeah, this guy made I think some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. However, the way that he's presented here uh, presented in a really cool light. In other words, Johnny Depp plays him in such a cool way with this endless enthusiasm, and you can't kill this guy's spirit. He's like, you tell him like you made the worst movie ever. It's like, well, the next one will be better. And he just has this fantastic, infectious energy and enthusiasm for what he does. And he's also a cross-dresser, and he's also just a crazy misfit of a person surrounding himself with other misfits that don't really fit into the Hollywood system. And he just found his niche, and he befriended Bela Lugosi, who is played brilliantly by Martin Landau. I think Martin Landau won the Oscar for his portrayal of Bela Lugosi in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. And Bill Murray's in this, and Bill Murray's hilarious. In the handful of scenes that Bill Murray's in this movie, he's hilarious. I can't really go too deep into it. It's basically like a fun little biopic of what who he was all about and what his philosophy was all about, and the lengths he went to make the movies that he made, and how everyone was just like left like scratching their heads, is like, what the hell's up with this guy? So, best Tim Burton movie by far, so far. So I'll leave you with that. This definitely belongs to the Criterion Collection. Put this one in there, man. Ed Wood, you kidding? So, the next film I have is considered like one of these legendary noirs, but not in the typical sense. Okay, like it's not a private detective story. It's not your usual. Okay, it's like a Hollywood, the inner workings of Hollywood type of noir, and it was directed by Billy Wilder, who needs no introduction. He was among the best directors of that era. And he made this fantastic movie with William Holden and Gloria Swanson, and I'm talking about Sunset Boulevard. Among David Lynch's favorite films, and among my favorite films. My first introduction to William Holden as an actor, and it's still my favorite performance by him. And Gloria Swanson gave such a fantastic performance in this, okay, that after she made this, the character that she played of Nora Desmond, it was almost indistinguishable from her. And so that I think that really ruined her career, because after this performance, they couldn't tell the difference between who was who. And if you watch the movie, you'll see why. And also Eric von Stroheim is in this movie. And I can't go too deep into what is important about these people being in this movie. If you watch it, you will see why Gloria Swanson and Norma Desmond were indistinguishable. It's fantastic. It's a great noir. It's very interesting because, again, it's a noir that has to do with the inner workings of Hollywood and the film industry. And I think it might still be relevant to this day. I mean, I'm pretty sure the film industry has changed dramatically between now and then, but this is a great document of its time, and it's a fantastic film. And it's the kind of a film that shows you the ending first, but the narration kind of takes you through the whole story, and it's very unique how it's done, and it's amazing, and it's a classic. And if you haven't seen this, you have to see this. And it should be in the Criterion Collection. This is a classic, but it's not such a blockbuster, crazy classic like Casablanca or something like that. I think this kind of like would fall under the Criterion category really nicely. I think it would be a great addition to the collection, in my humble opinion. Okay, so moving on, I have a movie that was made in 1996, and this one is amazing. This is a really interesting, amazing movie made by like a first-time director, and incredible performance. And I'm talking about Billy Bob Thornton's Sling Blade. Now, this movie doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. It kind of fell by the wayside. And it's in some kind of like maybe some Miramax, limbo in terms of licensing or something like that. I don't know what's going on. This isn't really a discussion about licensing. This is a discussion about movies that I think are worthy. And this is definitely worthy. The performance that he gives is as the developmentally challenged Carl in this movie is jaw-dropping. It's unbelievable. It also has like parallels to Frankenstein, in my opinion, and it's really sad, and it just stirs up all different kinds of emotions in you, and it makes you look at things through the eyes of this protagonist. Okay, and also in this movie that's really great is the late great John Ritter is in this in a supporting role, really amazing, and Dwight Yoakam is in this as like the bad guy. Okay, that's all I'll say about it. If to say any more would kind of give it away, and I don't want to give anything away. I just want to tell you, like, this movie's amazing. If you haven't seen it, well worth your time. Definitely belongs in the Criterion Collection. This would be great in the Criterion Collection. So I'll say no more about it. But yeah, Sling Blade, and I don't even think I gave it enough due, really. But like, seek this one out. It's about a developmentally disabled guy that just got out of a mental institution after a 25-year stint for committing a horrible crime, and he's kind of like trying to reintroduce himself to society after such a long time. And that's it. That's all I'll say. Okay, but amazing. Now, the next movie that I will be discussing came out in 1978, and it came out by a director that I love, Walter Hill, who made The Warriors, and he made a lot of great movies. But my favorite one is The Warriors. He made 48 Hours. He's made he has a really cool and interesting filmography. Now, this one never gets talked about, and it's very hard to find on any type of physical media. I had a hard time tracking this one down. And, Nicholas Winding Refn's The Drive with Ryan Gosling would have never been made. Basically, it's just a ripoff of this. And this movie is called The Driver. And the main guy in here who plays the wheelman, the driver, is Ryan O'Neal. It also stars Isabella Gianni, and it stars Bruce Dern, who has the most punchable face in Hollywood history, and he just always plays like the most like smarmy douchebag in every one of his roles, and he did that to a T. So he definitely doesn't disappoint in this one either. This movie is like a gritty crime drama, almost like a neo-noir, has neo-noir vibes. And just the action sequences in this are unbelievable. The driving sequences, the chase sequences, so great. And Ryan O'Neal is just like this stone-faced master of what he does. And he's uncompromising and always one step ahead of what's going on. And that's all I'll say about it. But man, if you haven't seen The Driver, I'm not surprised. It's kind of obscure. But this is among Walter Hill's finest films. And I can't recommend this one enough, and this one definitely belongs in the collection. Now, my next one came out in 1990, and it was directed by Adrian Lyne, and it stars Tim Roth. I always forget this guy's name. I don't know why. It's not Tim Roth, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I always get these two guys confused. It's Tim Robbins, okay, and Elizabeth Pena and Danny Aiello. And also appearances by Ving Rhames. And I'm talking about Jacob's Ladder. I don't know if you've seen this movie, if you're familiar with it. It's a really interesting, kind of like a horror film. It has to do with Vietnam, and a lot of people kind of like misunderstood this one when it came out, and they just said it was like an allegory to like Vietnam and all that. And it goes much deeper than that. This movie goes much deeper than that. It has hallucinogenic, terrifying visuals. It has a lot of like, time shifts and narrative shifts, and it really keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it keeps you wondering, and it's brilliantly portrayed. And everyone in this movie is great, especially Tim Robbins. Not Tim Roth, Tim Robbins. He's great in this. Everyone's really great in this. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check this one out. Very cool movie. Definitely belongs in the Criterion Collection. Very unique. I haven't seen a lot of movies like this. Okay? So that's that. And now my next one that I'm discussing came out in 1987. It was directed by Alan Parker, who also did Pink Floyd's The Wall, which I discussed in a previous video. Now, this one is a kind of like definitely a neo-noir. I would consider this one like a voodoo swamp noir, and it's really awesome. It's one of my favorites actually of that era, and it stars Mickey Rourke as a gumshoe detective, private eye, and it stars Robert De Niro and Lisa Bonet, among others. And I'm talking about Angel Heart. Now, this movie is really cool, man. This is great visuals. Just great, kind of like following the mythology of voodoo culture. and your typical noir tropes are in this as well. A lot of like identity shifts and like twists and turns, and it'll definitely take you for a very cool ride. And great performances all around, especially by Mickey Rourke. Also, Robert De Niro is in it, not that much, but when he's in it, he's highly effective. And Lisa Bonet is like fantastic in it as well. Everyone's really good in this, and visually, it's really great, and the pacing is great, and the story is awesome, and yeah, Criterion Collection, you're dropping the ball, man. Angel Heart, that would be awesome. Okay, so the last film that I will be discussing with you today is a documentary. Okay. Now, this one came out in 2004. I've seen this documentary. I think this is the documentary I've watched more than any other documentary, I think, ever. It's fascinating, and every time I watch it, I get something new out of it. Every time I watch it, I get like some kind of like weird inspiration about it. And it was directed by John Cassavetes' daughter, Alexandra Cassavetes, or Zan Cassavetes. And I'm talking about a movie that you may or may not know. And it's a documentary about basically a cable channel that started in 1974 in Los Angeles, and it was only available in like a certain part of the Hollywood Hills, or a very limited part of Los Angeles. But after this guy Jerry Harvey got involved in it, he basically turned it overnight into like a cinephile's dream. Okay, and I'm talking about a documentary called Z Channel: A Wonderful Obsession. And you see Jerry Harvey right there. This guy was like a master programmer, master curator of film, encyclopedic knowledge of so many genres of film. That's probably why I get so stoked watching this, because it just shows me that I don't know anything about movies. You ever like you think you know something about movies or books or film, and then you see somebody that'll just like blow you away with how much they know, and you feel like, oh yeah, I don't know anything. That's this, but in such a great way. And the way that it tells the story of how he came to rise to prominence as being this, because that's what he really wanted to do. I think this was his life's calling. If he was still around, this guy would be running Criterion. He would definitely be programming the channel, and he would be running Criterion. So Criterion needs to basically give this guy his props and give this guy this documentary, this fantastic documentary. It's just rewards. And I can't recommend this one enough. Z Channel: A Magnificent Obsession. And a lot of the movies that he championed are in the Criterion Collection. So I'm telling you, a shoe-in for somebody who would just be running things over there. Seriously. He basically, like, to give you a short synopsis of some of the things he did was, he took Heaven's Gate, right, the Michael Cimino film that was a huge flop, the biggest disaster in Hollywood, responsible for basically ending United Artists. He took that movie and he realized that it was in the wrong hands editing wise, and they cut too much of the movie out, and they cut out all the parts that made it make sense. So what he did was he arranged for a restoration of the original movie, and he showed it on Z Channel, and it got this whole retrospective, everyone just kind of like reappraised this movie and gave it new life, and as a result of that, ended up in the Criterion Collection years later. And there's plenty of other movies like Black Orpheus that are featured here, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, so many. The Leopard, 1900, so many movies that are basically the same aesthetic as Criterion Collection. So this is a huge parallel to that. And I can't recommend this documentary enough, especially for a cinephile. If you haven't heard of this, definitely check it out. It also features great interview segments with people like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Altman and Jackie Bisset, and it's great, really well done documentary. And if you're a cinephile, it's a must see. So I'll leave you with that. Those are my 10 recommendations. I'm sorry if I kind of got in the weeds there with some of them. I just don't want to give away a lot of information because I hate when people give spoilers. So I feel that these 10 movies are fantastic inclusions into the Criterion Collection, regardless of licensing or who holds the rights or any of that stuff. These are just wish lists, and they are meant to start conversations. So I welcome your comments, and thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. There's a new channel, so as you can see, I don't edit anything. I don't know how to edit anything. I'm just kind of rambling on, so I just hope that you can sit through the whole thing. If you have, thank you so much. Keep collecting, Keep going to Barnes and Noble and supporting them. You know, Amazon gets enough of your money as it is. Definitely go to the store and seek out the physical media and, you know, hold it in your hand. Just the old school way. You know what I mean? Like, screw streaming, collect physical media. Okay? Let's keep that alive. And thank you again for watching. Have a great night. And I will talk to you very soon with more talk about these great, fantastic movies. Take it easy. Have a good night.